Good day, everybody. WoofDriver coming to you in a little different of a format here. We're actually at the home front, and the dogs are roaming around. The dogs usually don't come in the front. I've learned from having dogs in multiple houses that keeping them out of the driveway is the best bet. So at my home here, and we'll do more of these broadcasts, so you'll see more. You can always look me up on the internet, woofdriver.com, and see what I'm talking about. But at the home here, I've got physical fencing, which is chain link fencing, 8 foot high, about a foot to 18 inches in the ground in different yards. So that keeps them, I can rotate dogs, rotate yards. Then I have an invisible fence that runs the whole perimeter of the property, roughly 8 acres. And what that does is allows me to free range them without really having to worry about them, without them really having to be trained on the fence, but well, without them being trained off leash, I should say. So even though they are off leash on the collar, on the invisible fence collar. So, and more of that, freeranging.com. So I haven't been, last week I put a post out there. We've just been really busy. Unfortunately, not so much. I'm always developing for the dogs and always bettering their living quarters, what we do, etc. But we can't always adventure just because it's too hot and humid right now. I mean, I just walked out here and I'm in a deep sweat. It's I've got a gauge on here that I know where all the temperatures are. So right now we're at a lower temperature, around 75 degrees. We just got over, we're in between rainstorms, and the humidity level is up to 95%. Again, yeah, I think when it's 100%, the dew point, it's raining. We're pretty close to that now, but it's been high humidity for so long this summer. Few and far between. We've had a couple days on and off, which I've been able to do some local stuff. Otherwise, we're doing indoor stuff, usually on the treadmill, different games and that kind of stuff. But I did want to mention that next week, it looks like the weather's clearing out, at least for a few days, actually starting, I think, tomorrow. We're going to start getting to reasonable temperatures. So that means I can go to the mountains and get possibly in the 60s with lower humidity. So we're going to look to do that. Stay tuned. I miss it. I know a couple of people have commented they miss the adventures and all that. Me too. And usually I can do them year round, but when it's almost 100% humidity and 90 some degrees outside is just way too hot for anybody to be outside at that point, pretty much. So and dogs, they're just not efficient at cooling. So we're at home today because wanted to change it up a little bit and wanted to actually bring you to the projects I'm currently working on. Now, as we speak right now, and I know you can't see it all because of the limitations of our filming capabilities right now, we're probably going to get rained on, so we could have to cut this short at any time. Over to my left, which I don't think you see, is where Crispy, basically he does welding and he does a lot of the maintenance and helps me develop a lot of the different bikes and equipment that I use. So I could walk over here. So basically what you're looking at is a Seiko cart here. And the Seiko cart is probably it's how I got involved in dog powered sports, and it's probably the most well-known, at least it was at the time, going back probably in the 70s, dog vehicles out there where you could actually train dogs to pull. So they would train lead sled dogs for transport, for races, and for just mushers would train them this way because you can teach them to steer as well as you can teach them to brake. You can teach them all the commands, basically. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to come over there. So how a Seiko cart works. This is really interesting and a lot of my development. But how a Seiko cart works is it's got a bar on the front that gets these, what they call tow bars. And these tow bars are cleverly designed because what they'll do is they're spring loaded, basically, because they have these huge springs, and this tow bar, it snapped out because this one's we're refurbishing it. Basically, we're making this for 4 dogs, so these need to be cleaned out a little bit because this is my original Seiko cart. This is from 95-ish, I think, and I bought it on the back of a magazine. That's how, I don't think we had internet back then, so it was like a dog fancy magazine. And actually, I can probably move over here. So what you're looking at here is the tow bar, actually. So the tow bar, what this bar does, you can see it hangs above the dog. So there's never any weight on the dog. And it hooks to the dog specially designed harness called a Seiko harness. Polka harnesses, if you're familiar with dog sports, dog-powered sports, you'll know what a polka harness is, or you probably have heard of it. And the polka harness, or the Seiko harness, which is more designed for this, specially designed, but a polka harness will work, will attach in 4 points. So again, training new dogs that have never been harnessed up or never been felt pulling can actually learn on this, and they can't really back out of the harness. At least they can't back out as easily as a regular 1-point harness or 2-point harness maybe. So pretty cool design. And what you have on a basic Seiko cart, this is again one of the earlier models. This I've had since the 90s. They've developed them further since. I used to be the North American distributor because I love them so much. I've got so much joy out of it. My dog's just, it's so wonderful with it that I actually talked to Seiko in Norway. That's where they're imported from. And I became the North American distributor. And we sold some container loads, believe it or not. And I was doing something called Dog Powered Sports I was selling equipment for. I've been through it all, and that's why I talk about this a lot. But with the Seiko cart, it's designed for 1 or 2 dogs. And you can actually, if you can envision this, you can be on the back of here. There's a platform that you can actually mush, like a musher. You can push off the ground to assist 1 dog or 2 dogs. If you're in tougher terrain, you're going up a hill, you're in a little bit of mud, whatever. And it's got a real generic brake on it. It's really cool though. It's a block, basically. I don't know, a metal block that actually just stops the wheel. It's pretty cool, and I've worn them out before too, but they're really reliable. It reminds me of a sled dog, basically a sled dog anchor, where we throw it out and it kind of anchors you to the ground, if you will. So on a dog sled. But it's really, I love this Seiko cart, and many of my designs were based upon my experience and how everything worked with the Seiko cart. So it's really, really, really good. And I can't stress it enough. Now, I'm not selling anything. I'm not endorsed by anybody. I'm out of the business in any case. But this is the older one. The newer ones, and I have some newer ones. I sold some of the newer ones, and I still use some of the newer ones. The problem is the newer ones are just cost prohibitive to a lot of people, and it's understandable. We're talking like $5,000. This thing would retail for, I think, $1,200, $1,300. Maybe it was under $1,500, and it's basically a bicycle. It's got a fancy steering wheel, and of course, it's got all the attachments for the dogs. It has no pedals. It has no motor. So the newer ones for $5,000, they're more aerodynamic or more comfortable for everybody, people and the dogs. They're really, at least one of the versions I had, really thin tires, but they're airless, they're tubeless, so they're not going to go flat on you. The problem is, like I said, they're cost prohibitive, and they were just, they don't have a motor. So everything I do is with a motor. That's what we're doing here. We're actually putting a motor on it. And I've done this to other Seiko carts, but we're doing it with a wheel this time. It's called a hub motor. So everything, all the components are built into the wheel. So it can actually, you don't need a chain, you don't need pedal assist, you just hit a throttle and you go. And I don't use a lot of motor. It's depending on the time of year. When it's warmer in the summer, if I was going to run them on a Seiko cart, not too warm like this, we can't do anything. But when it's warm enough to walk the dogs, and I can get to a place where it's out of the sun, where it's sheltered and shaded, I can take them on the Seiko cart and just use the motor so they don't have to engage as much. And that's what dog motorsports is all about. So they won't work up any kind of heat, build up any heat. So Seiko cart's really cool. If you're familiar with them, you've seen them in red and white. That's their traditional colors. They were also building a handicap version for people with more limited mobility themselves. And that was a blue and white version, and it had all kinds of handicap features. I don't know if they do that today anymore. The company has since been sold, and it's a gentleman, I've talked to him before, really fine gentleman. And again, they build an excellent product. It moved to the United States for a little while. I think it's back in Norway now. The key to the Seiko cart, the best thing about it is this bar that's in the front that holds the tow bars. So I'm going to take you over here now, and I'm going to show you what I've been working on. And we're working on this, by the way, to do 4 dogs. That's why we're working on it. But what I'm doing now is, so I get a lot of questions. People say to me, well, WoofDriver, especially people that you don't have to know anything about dog sledding to like what we're doing, or to at least want to learn about it. A lot of people are concerned, and rightfully so, for the dogs. And people get so caught up in everything going on, everything, whatever it may be, that when they see a dog in front of a vehicle, even on the side, when they run them on the side, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible! The dog's got to do all the pulling. He's got to do all the physical exercise, pretty much, or all the physical work." Have you ever pulled a sled before, WoofDriver? Have you ever pulled anything? And I have. That's the bottom line. So what you're looking at here, and I don't know, can you see this, Rod? This is called, and I did a small reel on this. This is called an M4 Tank Torque, is the company that makes it, fitness sled. And basically, this was designed for people. So people will actually put on maybe their own kind of harness. If you get jealous of the dogs wearing a harness, you put on a different harness, which I don't know what they call it, but it's a harness. Sorry, I'm trying to get it right here. And when it's on, you're pulling from there. The actual attachment can go behind you in your back, and you'll attach to that, and you can basically pull the sled. Now, this isn't designed for dogs, or it probably never crossed anybody's mind. But when I hear the word sled, I put the word dog in front of it, and I say, why can't I do it with my dogs? So, and that's how I develop a lot of equipment, because a lot of the stuff, besides the Seiko cart, there are other products out there, but they're very limited, and they're produced by small vendors usually. So the market demand's not big. A lot of people don't want to do dog sledding, don't understand that it can be a limited exercise. It doesn't have to be a full-time musher commitment. That's what I'm bringing to everybody, trying to show you, because a lot of times these dogs need more physical enrichment than we can give them, because like me, I'm getting older, my knees are weaker, my back's not as great as it used to be, my cardio's not there. So when the dog wants to sprint 20 miles per hour or more, I can't keep up with them. And when I'm on a bike, I can start to keep up with them. And when I'm on a bike, though, at some point I'm going to run out of juice also. And that's why Dog Motorsports, what I've developed, is so powerful, because that lets you actually pretty much give the dog all they want. And it can be as easy as just touching the throttle and going at a few miles per hour, or catching up to full speed on some of the vehicles. They can pull it to their heart's content. And if it's too heavy for them to pull, I'll run them on ATVs, if you're familiar with me, and I'll run them on heavier vehicles sometimes, and you can just push the throttle and go as fast as they want to go. So, and I know the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind, well, what about the safety of the dog? The safety is our number one concern, and comfort, of course. And we want the dog to enjoy what they're doing. So we don't want them to have fear of anything I do. And I don't want any apprehension. And some dogs are a little harder to train than others when we do this, because they lack confidence. And that's the whole beauty of it, because we build the whole bond and trust that's needed, and that helps the relationship further with the dog. So it's not just about the physical enrichment, it's also about the psychological enrichment. But for the Torque Fitness Sled, it's really made for people, as I was alluding to, where it's got all kinds of attachments, points, and ways to push it and ways to pull it, and pretty much do whatever you can do to get fitness for people. And you'll see a lot of these in some of the larger gyms, people pushing them. One person pushes, it's got handles on both sides. One person pushes one way, another person might push another way. Or you'll push down an aisle and you'll put the harness on and you'll pull it. It also, you can attach battle ropes, if you're familiar with them, to it. It's got a lot of different it's very versatile for exercising. And if you're familiar, because I've been into fitness for a while, and lately over the past 10 years, I've fallen off, and I've done some, excuse me, I think we have a question here.
We got a comment from Haley Stevens. Good afternoon, everyone. Love the new setup outside.
Awesome. So Haley Stevens, hi Haley. Thanks so much again for tuning in and all your good energy. So Haley says, loves the new setup out here outside and the new platform, and good day to everybody. So thank you so much, Haley. I truly appreciate that. And so what happens is, though, you'll see a lot of people refer to this as a grunge gym, where you've got tires and you take the hammers and you hammer on the tire and all kinds of, and I don't have them here. You'll see chains here. We use chains. We do all kinds of stuff. So I'm trying to rekindle some of my youth here and get a little bit of my fitness back. So I wanted to have this sled. My wife's familiar with it because she uses it at her gym. So she was like, oh, that sounds really cool. But you know me, again, once I hear sled, I have to put the word dog somewhere in there. So what can I do with the dogs with it? So we basically developed the Seiko cart. So you were looking at the Seiko cart earlier in the show. So we developed the bar to attach to this M4 Torque Fitness sled. This enables me to actually put the Seiko cart. I can use any of my equipment, but keep in mind, since this is for pulling, I'm going to put on the, I'm going to want the dogs to pull too. So how I design this is I can get behind it and I can push it with the handles back here. So I'd sit like this, I'd go like this, and I can put 1, 2, or 3 dogs as of now in here, and they can assist as much as they can. Here's the cool part. It's got on the side magnetic resistance. So when you adjust that, it's like adding weight to it. It just basically, I guess, in some ways changes the gearing and it makes it harder to move. So, and you could do that for both sides. So if you're going forward, you can increase the resistance. And if you're going backwards, you can increase the resistance. Remember, this is pretty a technologically advanced piece of physical fitness equipment. What happens is really cool. So I put the dog on, and you might have saw me. I did, like I said, a reel on this, and I'm over here and I push it, and it's pretty. Now the front wheels, you'll notice, aren't rolling. So this has no steering. Minor details, right? What makes that so good is the dogs can't pull left or right. Now they're going to have a little tougher of a time anyway, being in the Seiko cart tow bar, they call that. But when I drop this, it's got a wheel, so you can move this way and this way. So I can turn it, but the real wheels are right there. Now you're getting the full weight of the cart. So this handle comes up, and this wasn't my design. This is made by Torque Fitness. Handle comes up, lowers down a smaller caster, if you will, and that caster makes it a little more easy to turn. So I'll take the dogs up and down the street, and the dogs are going to pull as much as they want or as little as they want. I got to provide the other propulsion. And usually I do it with a motor, Dog Motorsports, but now I'm doing it with my body. So Rod says we have a question here, my producer. Cheryl Gilchrist.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So hello, Cheryl. Thanks so much for tuning in, as always. Now, Cheryl goes way back. Not to show our age here, but I've said this before, way back in the day when I started doing my first live broadcast with my second generation of Huskies. We had Zorro, Chase, Jag, and Princess. So Cheryl, thanks so much for always tuning in or always giving me a shout out and all your great fan and great fun interactions. I appreciate that. So yeah, we've come a long way since then. And so this is a way for me to stay in exercise and shape, to exercise well, and for the dogs to contribute as much as they want to contribute. And this will take a really active dog and slow them down, because now you're adding weight to it in a multitude of capacities, meaning magnetic resistance, as I showed you with the handle here. And also this can hold plates, weight plates. I don't think I'll ever get to that point where I'll need them. But what's really interesting with the magnetic resistance, if you're going down a hill, because I live in a hilly neighborhood, so it's hard work. I got to push this up a hill. The dogs are going to assist me what they can. And usually when you go up the hill, you got to go down the hill. So when I go down the hill, they want to go faster because they've got the gravity with them. So what I do is I'll give them more resistance. So I don't have to hold them back. I can actually make it so they would actually have to pull a little bit going downhill. They'll feel the resistance, and I can push too. Now, keep in mind, like I said, it will take even a physical dog that wants to jump and pull and buck and do everything, it'll slow them down because they feel the weight and give them as much weight as they want by the flip of a switch. So it's really a lot easier than taking different components and trying to provide resistance to the dog instead of just getting on here, using the magnetic resistance, not having to handle as much weight. Now, this cart itself weighs about 200 pounds. So one dog typically can pull about 3 times their own body weight comfortably, depending on what kind of dog they are, the breed, and their body, the age, etc. They could even push that further, of course. So, we're getting in range where they can almost pull this themselves on level ground. But that's not the idea, Rods.
We got a comment from Robin Reiner. She says you should sell vacation packages so I can take my 3 inexperienced dogs off to figure out the best option for them. I really would love that, and they need help with exercise. You and your wife need to start an Airbnb for dogs.
Robin Reiner, was that? Robin, thanks so much for the comment. So Robin was saying that we should have packages where we travel and can take other people's dogs and train them to do this, train the people as well as the dogs. And it is a great idea. We should have an Airbnb. Thank you so much for the comment, by the way. I appreciate it. And it's really funny because there aren't places that will train them like that, but I've run into some programs where you can experience similar, not as hands-on and not bring your dogs, but it's a great idea. And actually, I was once approached by one of these kind of vacation companies, and they wanted me to do packages where people could do that. But at this time, I don't have the time, but hopefully in the near future. So I'm doing the next best thing. I'm trying to be as hands-on as possible so I can interact with the audience, show them everything I'm doing, and possibly get everyone involved this way. And it is a problem. Dogs really need the exercise. Some breeds really need it. All of us and all dogs need some form of exercise. When you get into the higher energy breeds, this is the kind of stuff that can really help them with that. And again, we don't have to be a full-time musher. It only takes a bike to start with. And that takes me over to the next piece of equipment. So, and I'll try, you want to pull this up here? So this is really interesting. I've talked about this before, and I'm going to lift the bar up so you can see. And again, I'm not associated or affiliated with any of these companies. I used to sell the Seiko cart. Like I said, this is not a Seiko cart, but I showed it earlier. But that's been not since, I don't know, 97, 98, something like that, maybe 2000. So over 25 years ago. This is a really cool piece. I'm always looking for the latest and the greatest, and I'm always looking for something I can get that's not designed for dogs. I can design it with my team, with our capabilities and the shop that we have, what we can do. And I think you've seen a lot of that, but this is called the cycle board. So the cycle board is an interesting piece of equipment. And keep in mind when I get a lot of this equipment, I don't exactly know how I'm going to use it or how I'm going to feel about it, but I usually get it because I want to try it because I'm an adventurer at heart. So, and again, everything is involved for the dogs. So what we're doing here, Kevin, do you need me? If you need me, I want to get it done. So let me know. So as I said, we've got a lot going on at the house today. So we're doing our summer cleaning. And what we do is we clean the dogs' crates with power washers and everything else that they spend time in. Of course, I feed raw, they get fed in there. More on that at a future date, but you might see people going in and out, part of my crew, the WoofDriver pit crew. In any case, the cycle board is a really interesting invention because it looks like a scooter and it looks kind of with aggressive tires and 4 wheels, and it's pretty stout. So it looks kind of like a capable scooter, if you will. And you've seen some of my bigger scooters, military movers, I call them. Well, with this, I liked it because it was less weight, but it wasn't quite as substantial. With this cycle board, you won't believe this, but you can't steer. So this doesn't go left or right. Kind of like what I was showing you on the M4 Tank fitness sled. You can't steer it. So how do you move it is the question. Well, it all moves with our weight. So I can make the wheels turn. You see they turn if I lean that way. And if I lean the other way, it'll turn that way. Notice how I pretty much can't turn over. I mean, that's all my body weight almost all of it, leaning to the left, again, like that. I can get it off the ground a little bit, and leaning to the right, like that. And you can see they turn some. And what that means is, well, okay, I'm gonna do one more time. So no steering. This does not move. The only thing that moves is the bottom of the board. And you can see that pushes the axle to make it steer to the left. Then to get it back to center, I step with my right. And then to go to the right, I'll turn like that. And you can see it comes off the ground a little bit, but I was putting all my weight on it. So you think this is more designed for kids, and it may be, because it's basically a skateboard with a handle, not even a way to steer it. But with that, because of the way it's such a unique design, leaning to the left goes to the left, leaning to the right goes to the right. So it's fun to ride, and it's a core workout. So it's interesting. They don't design it for a core workout, but I'm just telling you, I feel it. And when you first do it, you're a little stiff, tension there because you're worried you might fall off or something. But it's not like that. You won't. I'm saying it's hard to fall off, especially if you've got decent balance and you've ridden different bikes and different equipment in the past. With this, the attraction to me is that it's basically the dogs can't pull you in one direction, and it's kind of lightweight. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of weight in the base with the battery. That's what makes this possible, because if you didn't have a lot of weight and you lean to the left or right, you'd fall over. The whole rig would go. That's another good thing. So this is all custom, this bar. It comes nothing with it. This is not designed for dogs. Only WoofDriver does that. So with this bar, I put these springers, and a springer is a device that anybody can buy on pretty much Amazon, eBay, etc. I used to sell them back about 25 years ago. So the springers, this is the second, actually this preceded the Seiko cart, the springer. So the springer actually is a big spring, and you can see it's so strong that the dogs can't pull you over when they're on the springer. So this is made for a bicycle, traditionally mounted under the seat, because your weight is over the seat, and it keeps you, the dog sees a squirrel, they lunge, but you don't move. So I've adapted the springer in many circumstances in many different ways. And right now I've adapted it to fit on this cycle board. And I have one for each side. So I put a dog here, and the dog runs next to it. And I have some video of this, some reels, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching. And the dog's hooked to the harness here. So then I come off the front, and I use a longer line, so we're not putting any pressure, and I use what they call a non-choke, kind of like a martingale non-slip dog collar. So what it does is it tightens, but it never tightens enough where it's pinching the neck at all. It just tightens to keep them in place, and they're not pulling from there at all. So I would never do any of these sports with just a collar. But this is a specialized collar that they actually use for sled dogs when they hook dogs together or to the line to keep them from deviating too far away or beyond in one direction. So I hooked this to their collar. It's longer than this, so they're going to be pulling on this before they get any real tension on their collar. That's my design. That's the design of how it using a neckline, it's called in the sled dog world, like I said. So this is really interesting. So it keeps them close to the vehicle, and it keeps them moving forward in the right direction while giving them the ability to run any speed they want. And they're not propelling the vehicle because, like dog motorsports, like what I do, it's motorized. So it's really an interesting concept, and I really enjoy it. Again, I wouldn't say it's lightweight per se, but it's a lot lighter than most of my equipment, most of my professional equipment, most of my military style equipment. Like this is 200 pounds. I mean, this might be 75. It could be 100 pounds. So it doesn't have a reverse, and to really, like, if I'm in a lower range, I have to pick it up, move it like that. So I don't know, 75, 80, maybe 90 pounds. I'm not sure, but that's the way. If I was somewhere and I had to turn it in a real short radius, I'd have to pick it up from the back and do that. That's how it's designed. So really cool. And you can see this front bar, and that's why this front bar, the dogs can tether to it. It doesn't have to be as strong because, again, they're not using their necks to pull. It's just keeping them in the proper position. But I use a multitude of, this is my equipment bag. I use equipment bags for almost everything I do. So this is really cool. I use these, they're like red silo cups, but they're dog bowl cups basically. So these are disposable. So what I do is I use these because I never know when I'm going to do this. And I always have clean water bowls for the dogs on hand, but a lot of our travel water bowls, adventure water bowls, they can get dust on them. I might not have used them a little while, especially in the summer when we got such heat. I might just might be spontaneous. It rains and I want to run right then and there because it's cool enough for the dogs. So I take these silo-like cups and I put a bottle of water in here, cold water. Just take a couple of waters, then I don't have to fill it in a any container or any canister, which I have. But again, I'm all about being as clean as possible for the dogs because I know they have better germ resistance than we do, but I'd like to not expose them to anything I don't have to. So this just makes it real quick and easy. And I'll use extra leashes will be in the bag. I always have temperature gauges because I'm always checking asphalt and surfaces just to make sure, depending on the time of year, that we're within range. Of course, I wouldn't start if we weren't, but you get to different areas. They could be paving a road and say, and I've had this happen before, that's why I know, and say, okay, it's okay to go ahead. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I've got to check the road, the new pavement with my laser thermometer and make sure it really is. So everything's always about the dog safety. So on here, of course, I use mirrors. I got to always know what's behind me. Lately, if you've seen me, I use a radar detector back here. So the radar detector tells me if a car or somebody's approaching me. So I'm not checking the mirror and I'm on a road, just even if it's in the neighborhood. It starts ringing. I'm like, whoa. And I look in the mirror and I see somebody approaching me. I can tell where they're at, if they see me, if they're going around me, if they're in the right position, etc. That gives me the chance to respond appropriately and keep us as safe as possible. So, by the way, with this cycle board, it can go off road. So I can, if somebody's coming down the road and I feel a little intimidated or a little threatened, I'll jump the curb with the dogs. They're used to it because of a lot of the equipment I use. I take them off-roading. If you've seen me on the military style scooters I have, we go in the dirt, of course, in the snow, on the rocks, on the more challenging terrains. I just jump the curb with this. So unfortunately, I don't have any good footage of this yet because I haven't had it long enough. So Rod, who's my producer here, he hasn't been able to film it yet, but we'll get some professional shots of this. This is a readily available bike on, I saw it first on Facebook, actually, on an ad they have, but a lot of places you can get it. So that's where we're at here in WoofDriver lands. Any questions or comments we need to address, Rod? And I hope to come to you again. Hopefully we'll get back on schedule. Just summer's always, family vacations and different aspects. We're doing a lot more in the summer to maintain everything, to develop everything. Because in the winter, we're out there hustling. We're all about the dogs. Year round usually, but the summer is the time to let us catch up on everything. And with the heat and humidity, it's been pretty hard to balance get the dogs out there pretty much. So this is a good balance to get to being ready for the season. And I hopefully next week you'll catch us on some dog trips starting could be as late as Saturday, be as early as this Saturday or as late as next Wednesday. That's when the weather looks good and everything looks good. So I really appreciate it, folks. Be sure to tune in, always woofdriver.com, all the social media, whatever the case may be, you can find me. And if you have any questions or comments, you can always leave them, even on this live vodcast, I call it, anytime. And usually I'll go back and I'll scan and I'll respond accordingly. And that's it. I'm WoofDriver signing off. And next time we're here, we'll peek in on the dogs. Have a great day, everybody. WoofDriver.